Hey everybody, welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest daily transfer news update show, the title of which I change every single day. I'm still not convinced entirely what the show is called, but we're here anyway, which is all that matters. I'm Dan Club, I'm here for the next half an hour or so, delightfully so. I'm going to be joined by your good selves at home, in the car, at work, wherever you are watching or listening to us from. It is a pleasure to have you along. I've got a few things I want to talk about. Obviously, the headline being that, according to reports, Yan Diomande has agreed personal terms with Liverpool ahead of his potential move to Anfield, which is very, very exciting. We'll get into that in due course. But as ever, these shows are yours. They are your own to do with as you wish. You set the agenda, you ask questions, you give me your opinions, whatever it may be, fill the chat along the way and we will bring them up. Starting with Paul. I take great offence to this, Paul. I am never late. Never late. Check the tapes. The receipts are there for all to see. I am never late. But yeah, generally speaking, I kind of get your point, and you're not wrong, apart from me. But I hope you're good anyway. Hope everybody's good at home. Hope everybody enjoyed the World Cup action last night, if they weren't bored to sleep or tears by the England game in particular. But yeah, aside from that, it's been good, hasn't it? It's been a bit of a goal fest, which always helps. And I think I've said yesterday on the show as well, a lot of the big guns coming to the party on the world stage, which is the best way to do it, I guess. So yeah, exciting times. Any advice to survive the heat? To be honest with you, no, because I am wilting by the day. So no, I can't really help you with that one, because like, it's an obvious thing to say. We don't really have aircon in this country, full stop. So that doesn't help in any way. But it feels like you open all the windows possible and get any potential breeze draft going, but then that's actually, like, all the advice is the opposite of that. It's like shut blinds, keep windows closed, not to let the heat in, but it just feels very unnatural. So yeah, I'm not the person, unfortunately, to help you on that. All right then, happy Wednesday. Hello, my friend. Hope you are good. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Are the reports credible? Well, we'll come on to that in just a moment, but I mean, they're pretty credible, to be honest with you. I must admit, the source feels good. Morning, Dan. Gut telling me it won't happen. I'm not... I don't know, my gut's telling me the opposite, to be honest. Our houses keep heat in, don't let it in. Yeah, but if it's just, the air's just hot anyway, it's going to get in. Like, it's just hot. So I think letting it out, no, anyway, you're probably right. You're almost certainly right, but it just feels very against what feels right. To be just sort of cooped up and penned in, it feels good to get the window open and let a bit of fresh air in. But again, you're probably right. Aircon unit was my best ever buy. I can't lie. Yeah, I can well imagine. It's one of them, is like, you never think you need it. And then we get little batches of weather like this and you're like, why have I not bought more fans and an aircon before? And then you will buy it. And then like 2 days later, it's like 15 degrees again and pissing out of rain. So yeah, no. I mean, some do, obviously, but it's not like a standard thing. It's not like a blanket across the country, because generally, up until like the past 4 or 5 years, we don't really have the weather to warrant it. I am starting to wonder now whether that might be the times they are changing. Yeah, we'll come on to Palestra, but I'll go with the main reason, the headline story, before we do. I do want to touch on the Palestra thing, though, before I wrap up. Yan Diomande. According to French outlet Media Foot, Liverpool and Iraola have been handed a big double boost in their bid to land Diomande in this transfer window. The report claims that only if the Reds reach an agreement with the Ivory Coast international over personal terms, but that PSG are set to leave the race to sign the 19-year-old because of Leipzig's huge asking price. And just on that asking price, it then goes on to say Liverpool still needs to find an agreement with the Bundesliga outfit on an acceptable price, but with buy-in from the player and a seemingly clear run securing his services, they are in a strong position. It then mentions there at the bottom about the bid we already have rejected, and that's according to Give Me Sport sources as well. So that bid rejected there is a total of 100 million euros with 80 plus 20 million in add-ons to follow. Yeah, so listen, it does feel as though the past 24, 48 hours in particular, there's been a slight shift in this one in terms of how it's developed, and I think Liverpool are moving somewhat into a stronger position, primarily on the player side, which is kind of, true to what we're speaking of here as well. But mostly because the narrative and some of the noises around this move have gone from, well, the player's quite happy and he's quite grateful and appreciative of what Leipzig have done for him, and that probably still is the case, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like more and more people are coming out and saying, but actually he'd quite like to move on. He sees the opportunity in front of him, i.e. Liverpool, and possibly at one point PSG, and he's tempted by that, because why wouldn't you be ultimately? So yeah, it just feels like it's shifted ever so slightly. Now, what hasn't shifted and what needs to shift in order for this to happen, or even soften a little bit, is Leipzig's stance. Because, as mentioned, Liverpool have already had €100 million offer rejected. They're going to have to go above and beyond that, clearly, in order for this to become a reality. So, yeah, still a long way to go in terms of getting it done, but it does feel as though we're moving in the right direction. That's my sense on it anyway. Again, let me know in the chat if you feel differently or whatever. And are we convinced he's the one as a collective? Like, are we absolutely certain? Liverpool certainly are, and they see him as the answer to the question in the attacking line. He is clearly their needle mover, if you like. Victor Munoz was a smart, savvy signing who's got loads of potential upside to him, but I think they're looking at Diomande as the one who instantly comes in and makes our attack dangerous again, essentially, which I like the sound of. But do we all think the same? It's not much of a sample size to go at, given 1 year in Spain, 1 year in Germany. But clearly they feel like he is ready. He is the answer. He is the real deal. So, yeah. Listen, I lived in Australia for a bit, as I seem to mention every day on this show. And, yeah, you're right. Closing your windows all day is better. Yeah, it just doesn't feel right, does it? 150 million probably thinks might get it done. Leipzig, I spoke to somebody from Leipzig nearly a month ago now, it must have been, and it was above that, definitely. I've got 130 in my head. Let's just say 130. Let's use that as the figure. You probably can compromise and bring them down a little bit from that. So you might be right. That meeting the middle sweet spot from 100 to 130 is obviously 115, and that might be what gets it done eventually. Does £100 million buy him? What's that in terms of euros? I don't know. What is the conversion rate these days? About 110. I think you might need a touch above that. And it's probably about the structure of the deal as well. Like, how are we paying it? Is it in instalments? Like, there'll be ways and means of which Leipzig will prefer it to be done, and vice versa. The add-ons in terms of how gettable and sort of achievable they are will be important too. So there's a lot of groundwork and a lot of stuff to be done still, it feels like, in terms of making him a Liverpool player. But I just think some of the murmurings in the past 48 hours are just filling me with a little bit more confidence that there's going to be one that ends up getting over the line. I certainly hope so. Not because I'm absolutely adamant and convinced that he's the solution, because I'm not. I'd be lying to you if I thought he was. I've been really impressed by what I've seen, certainly in this World Cup and previously in the Bundesliga. His numbers last season, just for conversational sake, 13 goals, 10 assists, 36 appearances, so good, very good actually, and especially in a side that's competing at the top of the league, but not Bayern Munich. So yeah, there's a lot to like about that. He's only 19, so he's still got loads and loads of room to go. He's still got loads of ceiling above him, which is good. But Liverpool are clearly convinced, and that's enough for me to be like, okay, well, let's just do it then. And actually, I spoke to Kevin Hatchard the other day, who knows European football like no other in my mind. When I put to him some of the alternatives that have been suggested, Fernandes, Pardo, El Marla, and Cuban Minter, and one more who escapes me, somebody help me, and Bazumana Toure, I think I spoke about, but he wasn't the one I've got in mind. Anyway, he essentially said that they pale into insignificance by comparison to Diomande. Like, he was big on the players, he spoke positively about all of them, but there was major reasons as to why they weren't Diomande. And Diomande is almost absolutely 100% the answer. So that was enough for me, to be honest. But yeah, let's dive back into the chat anyway. See what we are thinking. Liverpool must think he has Yamal type potential. If we're gonna be forking out that kind of dough, then I think we think his potential's high. Because we did it for Isak, but he was Premier League proven. He had a wealth of goals behind him to suggest that, yeah, you've got to go and do that. Plus, Newcastle's stance was really, really firm in terms of they didn't want to sell. So we needed to pay the record fee that we ended up paying to get him. Florian Wirtz, I think, whilst his first season was an underwhelming one, you were paying for proven world-class quality there. Diomande doesn't have either of those two things. Therefore, Liverpool, as you kind of say there, must believe that the ceiling and the potential is through the roof, which is exciting. It is exciting. 100 million was rejected already. There was, and that was euro, so it is a slight differential. And again, it was 20 million in add-ons, 80 million up front. So that, again, the structure of the deal and how Liverpool actually pay whatever the total fee ends up being will probably be quite important to Leipzig, just in terms of how they amortise and spread their costs and that sort of stuff. I still think we'll go for a centre back, right back hybrid. Do you know what? It's funny that, because obviously the Palestra stuff I do want to touch upon, and I was thinking just earlier on, now he looks like he's Chelsea bound. Liverpool, all the suggestions are that Liverpool will do something at right back, which I get, absolutely. But I don't know what that looks like. I can't put my finger on what it is, because I'll be going to sign an out-and-out right back when we own Jamie Frimpong and Conor Bradley. For all the problems and the disappointments around those two last season in particular, we still have them as footballers. They are viable right back options, and when fit, of course. So we're going to do something else there, and then when they are all fit, we just got 3 right backs. Like, that doesn't feel conducive to good squad balance, does it? So yeah, I'm fascinated by the solution to that, and it might be what you've just said there, because it does feel like he's got to be something else. I'm not sure he can just be a right back. And what age profile is that? Is it someone really young to grow? Is it somebody who can just come in overnight? We're linked with Denzel Dumfries, weren't we, for example? Is it someone in that bracket who can just go, yeah, he'll do a job for us for a year or two whilst we figure out Conor Bradley and Jamie Frimpong? I don't know. Michael Coyote, he was one of the ones I was going to put forward, actually, Coyote. There was a couple, to be honest with you, again, whilst having this sort of conversation with myself upstairs. Javeria Reid was somebody we linked with quite prominently last season, and Coyote was the other one. But I'm just not sure if they are the right answer to it. But again, not knowing what Liverpool want to do there makes it really, really complicated, obviously. But what's on the Diomande thing, actually, just to come back to that momentarily. The fact that it's even been reported that Liverpool have managed to strike an agreement in terms of personal terms is really, really promising, of course, if it is nailed on accurate. Because the behind-the-scenes workings on a deal for Yan Diomande are really quite difficult because of the legal complexities around his contract situation, because he's essentially, to my knowledge, represented by 2 different agencies. One of them's got like his image rights and the other one's got like his football stuff going on. He made a switch not long ago, and it was all very murky. And I remember at the time when it was initially being reported, it was almost being reported as it makes any future transfer right now really tough to do. So if we can overcome those hurdles as well as get a deal struck with Leipzig, we'd have to have gone a long way. We have to put in a lot of legwork to get the player, which is, once again, speaks to what we see the player as and what him potentially becoming as well. So yeah, exciting times. According to Daz, the personal terms were agreed a week ago. Daz, I hope you're right, my friend. I want Coyote, perfect signing. Him and Kirkes on the side would be mad. Yeah, and, Coyote also offers throw-in threat, which is something we lack, to be honest with you. Whether he turns the long throws often, I'm not sure. Bournemouth were doing a little bit, weren't they, under Iraola? So maybe. I think we keep Frimpong for me. Gakpo, Mac. We're not going to sell Frimpong. I'd be staggered if we sold Jamie Frimpong. He's absolutely going to get this season minimum, I would have thought. And he'll want to remain fit throughout it, and he'll want to show better form, a better version of himself, of course. But yeah, I don't think we're going to sell him. I don't think that's a non-starter to me. I think I'm with you with the Gakpo thing, I must admit, and maybe McAllister as well. I mean, their form in the World Cup does one of 2 things, doesn't it? It either says there's life in the old dog yet and they can come back and do a job for Liverpool, which is good, or it shows potential suitors, look at me, like I'm still a top-level footballer, come and get me. I'm not entirely sure which one I prefer. I'd be happy with both of them staying at the football club and starting the season with us. I wouldn't have an issue with that necessarily. But at the same time, if we are going down a slightly different route in terms of what we are as a football team, which we will be under Iraola, and we need money to fund that, they're good money between them. What you're looking at, upwards of 100 million, maybe 110, 120. Might get your Diomande money back on those 2 if you sold them. Doesn't feel like the worst business in the world, does it? Let's be honest. Yeah, do you know what? You're right. Let's do it. I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. I enjoyed that as well. And it's so frustrating, that show. It's great to do, but it's really frustrating because the minute it's one of them, the minute you stop recording it, you go, should have done this. And I was basically living in regret live at the time because there were so many things I wanted to do and players I wanted to keep, but because of the restrictions on the budget, you couldn't end up doing it. But yeah, it's good fun to do though, and it's gone down really well, which is good. Why can't Calvin Ramsey not be given a fresh chance? Yeah, Yeah, maybe. Listen, I was big on Calvin Ramsey needing an opportunity last season, but that was because we were in the midst of a season and we had a right-back injury crisis going on, and I did not love Dominic Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, anybody else who was able to go to right-back. So at that point, I was big on Calvin Ramsey. Yeah, let's just do it, because we've seen this dance before and we played somebody natural in the position, and lo and behold, it's worked. But now, Calvin Ramsey, with all his injury problems and with his lack of football, essentially, in the past 18 months, it probably is the time just for him to go and play football regularly somewhere and sort of kickstart his own career. I don't see that being at Liverpool personally. And that's not to say he's not a good player, because he is. There was talent there without a shadow of a doubt. But I just think it'd be better for him to go and actually become a first-team regular somewhere else, as opposed to waiting around for potential opportunities at Liverpool, which may never come, ultimately. Anyway, let's do the Mecca, because this has been linked over in Germany from Sport Bild, probably the most reputable outlet in Germany, I would say. The Mecca's strong performances have long since put him on the radar of Europe's top clubs, according to Sport Bild. Manchester City, Manchester United and Liverpool have all inquired about him. Real Madrid also have him in their sights, as does Bayern Munich. No surprise that Bayern Munich are eyeing up a German-based player, of course, this time at Borussia Dortmund. So yeah, Felix Lemaitre has been linked to Liverpool. He has been one of the standout performers in the World Cup so far for Germany, I think it's fair to say. He has been really, really eye-catching. And yeah, I think in terms of the player profile, I think there's a lot to like about him. 25, so got experience, will come in overnight and be a little bit plug and play for what we need. You don't really need to wait for him. I'm going to talk about somebody else in a minute who you might have to wait for. This is a very good point, because we touched on Eduardo Camavinga yesterday, and I think I would rather that, especially given the price tag and what else we need to do in the squad, because I think there's a lot more work to be done in the squad. And I think if we go all in big on a midfielder, we leave ourselves short in other areas potentially. I think we need to go all in big on the winger, Diomande. I think Bradley Barcola will be a slightly different conversation. We might have to get a bit of money back in order to facilitate that one, if it does happen, of course. But the midfield needs something, but I'm not sure it needs £100 million worth of Felix Lemaitre, personally. That would be my take on it. But again, that's not to say I don't like the footballer, because I do. Last season, for what it's worth, 42 appearances, 5 goals, 3 assists for him. Worth mentioning at this point, you may or may not have seen some of the stuff going around about Keith Smith yesterday, obviously of AZ Alkmaar, essentially linked to Newcastle, but in the same breath, as most Newcastle patch journalists are probably needing to do just to cover their own back at the minute, suggesting that Liverpool are also in the mix. Worded as, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, Newcastle are keen on the player, but keep an eye on Liverpool. So 20 years old, so a different footballer, a different level, a different stage of his development to Felix Lemaitre, of course. You are working on a bit of a project and somebody to come in. But having said that, 46 appearances last season, 5 goals, 10 assists, and that's predominantly from a deeper midfield area, not a 10 by any stretch, an 8, a 6, at a push, sort of a hybrid between the two. Only 20, as I say. Has been capped by the Dutch national team, so clearly highly thought of. I've heard great things about him. He would be more in the £80 million bracket, maybe slightly under if you're lucky. So yeah, out of the two options, I'd probably just about edge towards Keith Smith, to be perfectly honest, because I'm not sure what the midfield needs, to be honest. I've changed my mind a few times on this. I've ebbed and flowed in my sort of own thought process. It needs something. It absolutely needs something. But it's hard to know. I think we knew exactly what it was last year when we knew how we were playing and what we were clearly lacking. It was legs, it was energy, it was mobility, a bit of defensive grit. And it might still be that, let's be honest. That might still be exactly what this midfield is crying out for, especially with McAllister's problems. But I think above all else, we just need an alternative in there. Somebody with defensive instincts, yes, but it just needs freshening up a little bit. And I think anybody could almost provide that. So I'm not against any sort of suggestion when it comes to the midfield recruitment, and I wouldn't really turn my nose up at whatever Liverpool decide to do there either. I think it's got to be within reason, and I think it's got to make some sense. I think the last thing we need is another attacking midfielder, for example. I wasn't in love with the Alex Scott stuff, I must be honest, but Somebody else is there. I think Scott and Sangari would be great. Yeah, maybe. Keith Smith only makes sense if Pachetis goes. We did a lot on Pachetis yesterday. I do think he will go. Sangari, somebody else is saying. Lamine Kamara was the big one. It's gone a bit quiet on the Lamine Kamara front in recent weeks. Maybe that's a World Cup thing and then just letting that play out and then they'll revisit it once Senegal's fate has been decided. Who knows? But I don't know. Scott screams Joe Allen to me. I think there's always a risk of that. Even if it's unfair, I think the comparison's there to be made and made to be shot at, because when a manager immediately goes back to his old club and brings someone with him who he's done really well with, he's had success with, then it's a great thing for the managers to do. But on the outside perspective, it just looks a little bit almost too obvious and you're setting yourself up for a fall. See Roy Hodgson, Paul Konchesky, but there's probably loads of reasons why that didn't work, to be honest. Iriola knows how to play Scott. He does, but he probably knows how to play a lot of footballers. You know, like I think he could come in and work quite well with the ones that we have existing in midfield, and indeed any of those linked. So, yeah, I'm not as big up on the suggestion that he needs to go and raid Bournemouth in order to be a success, personally. Do we need to worry about homegrown quota? Not so much. It's definitely a consideration, and I think let's live in a world where Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones both go, which isn't that mad of a thing to say. I think then we really need to start thinking about it, but until that happens, and Trey Leone looks like he might be going out on loan as well. We mentioned that yesterday. So there's definitely suggestions that maybe we will have to start considering this, but as it stands right now, I don't think it's a massive problem in terms of the squad we're trying to build. Anyone for Wharton? Yeah, absolutely. But the latest reports on him are that it's not one Liverpool are actively working on. So as much as I would like to see it, it's not one I can currently see. And similar with Bouadi, to be fair, he would be a great signing. He's definitely more in the Keith Smith profile of, you know, could he come in and do a job from the get-go? Possibly, but is it more likely to be one that just develops over time and grows into becoming a starter and a key player for us? More likely, I would say. But at the minute, it looks like he could be bound for elsewhere, possibly even Arsenal. So yeah, let's wait and see. Can you explain what it means? Personal terms agreed. Does that mean he's definitely coming? No. In the modern world of transfers, I don't think it's too far-fetched of a suggestion for me to make that oftentimes players may have given a nod or had conversations to the likelihood of them joining a football club before the clubs have actually agreed a deal. I think I'm allowed to say that. It's essentially tapping up is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I do think gone are the days of it being, and listen, what's going on in Spain right now with the Barcelona and Real Madrid Julian Alvarez situation may fly in the face of what I'm saying here, but it's supposed to be club reaches out to clubs agree deal, club is then granted permission to speak to player. They were the good old days, I think. I'm not entirely sure that's how it goes right now, to be fair. So the suggestion is, based on what I've just said there, that Yan Diomande has green-lighted, given the agreement on whatever the personal terms would be, if he was indeed to sign a contract after the clubs have agreed a fee for the transfer. So, yeah, it's good news ultimately, because there's been reports in recent weeks suggesting he's more swaying towards PSG and then back to Liverpool and then back to PSG. As it stands right now, I think we're in the box seat. I think we're in the ascendancy when it comes to signing Yan Diomande, which I'm positive about. And, you know, we need to be attracting the best talent across the globe. And if we can get Diomande, especially with PSG seemingly lurking in the background, that bodes well. They're the current European champions. Whatever you think of them and how they've done it, they're the current European champions. And we obviously have enormous pull and stature in the game. So we should be winning battles for any transfer in my eyes. But it still means something, and it still should be classed as significant to get a player from a top club in Leipzig as well, but particularly when PSG are seemingly circling. So yeah, I'm going to ignore a couple of them comments. Why not Mincer? What's your opinion on him? Quick, decent dribbler, physical, etc. Yeah, Mincer's been linked for a while. I get it. I like what I see. I'm not sure. I don't know. And that one, again, the reason I think it was linked for so long, and maybe continues to be linked ever so slightly, because he was indexed to on the slot in terms of he played under him previously. And that's not to dismiss it out of hand now and say, well, Slot's not here anymore, therefore we're not going to sign him. But yeah, there's just options, there's alternatives that I prefer more, I think. And I wouldn't be disappointed by Minter. Truthfully, I think I've gone so far down the road now on Yan Diomande, and I've been told so many positive things about Yan Diomande. I couldn't help but be a little bit gutted if it wasn't Diomande. And that's, I'd still get behind whoever the signing was. But Liverpool kind of now, for me, need to land Yan Diomande because they want their top target. That's the way we need to operate in the market, especially after such a disappointing season. We now need to sort of make amends and fix what was wrong. And that means we can be in a much healthier position come the start of next season. But yeah, let's all wait and see. I take that right back from Ghana in a heartbeat. He was a beast. Yeah, he was. I think we need to be careful of paying some World Cup tax and getting too carried away on some World Cup stars because we've been down there before and we don't want to return to that. Like, it's not a world you need to be living in. We've been stung in the past. I don't think Bawardi is that, for what it's worth. I know suddenly he's, the best thing since sliced bread because he's played a couple of decent games for Morocco, but there's more to meet the eye on him. Like, his 96 appearances, I think it is, for Lille at the age of 18 speaks volumes of the talent, because Lille, Ligue 1, yes, and people can have their criticisms of Ligue 1 all day long, no issue with that, but Lille have been competing in the upper echelons of it, and to be having nigh on 100 senior appearances for any European league is pretty impressive. To be doing it in one of Europe's top 5, top 6 leagues, yeah, I think that's quite something, isn't it, to be fair. Edwards has an eye for a deal. Hughes has contacts abroad. Can they put their heads together to spring a surprise? Well, they've already done that, really. And I know, by all accounts, Iriola came in and pushed the button on Victor Munoz. But in terms of springing a surprise, like, I've not known a surprise sprung like that since the Wataru Endo signing. Like, that is the last one. Because even the Chiesa one was bubbling away for a little while. I remember doing a little bit of background on it and being able to speak to people about him and where he was at in terms of his fitness and all that sort of stuff. Endo came out of nowhere. Absolutely came out of nowhere. Like, everything about that was just, left field. And Victor Munoz was also that. Because I went to sleep, Liverpool weren't signing Victor Munoz. I woke up, Liverpool were about to sign Victor Munoz, and I wasn't asleep for like a week. So yeah, that moved really, really quick. And I think Liverpool have got capabilities to do that. Liverpool's buzzword last summer was opportunistic, and I don't think that's gone anywhere. They'll strike while the iron's hot on certain deals. They'll also play the long game on somewhere necessary, like Diomande. But don't be shocked if there's another one in the Munoz school in terms of what we're able to do this summer. I think that's very, very possible. I really do. And I'm here for it. I'm just going to quickly address this because I think it's a worthwhile, very valid question, because we did do a little bit on this yesterday, so I won't dwell on it too much for those that are back again. And thanks for coming back again, by the way. I think we need something. I do think we need something. And especially if Cody Gakpo goes, I think that need is enhanced. And I'm not a huge advocate of Cody Gakpo in the middle, I must say. But yeah, I do think we need to do something in the centre-back department, because at the minute it's Alexander Isak and that's it. Plus maybe little Victor Munoz, because he's done it before. He's done it quite successfully in terms of output before. He's only got 20-odd games in that position, so yes and no a touch. I think he does it differently than what Isak does and maybe what Iriola wants. But yeah, Jayden Dan's injuries are the problem there. Will Wright's been impressive but raw. Keylor Figueroa, impressive but has injuries as well. I don't think any of them are ideal. They might need a little bit more senior football before they're ready for that role, I would say. So I do think we need something, whether it's a short-term thing for a year or two, which is why Darwin Núñez was even entering the conversation momentarily. I do think we need to do something, because Ekitike, I know there's been reports recently suggesting Boxing Day. That feels quick. I'm up for it, but it feels premature. Like, that's way less than 12 months. And that's not just less than 12 months for back to field return. That's less than 12 months for playing. Like, not in terms of just training. They're suggesting that he'll be back and available for Boxing Day. I'm not sure. Like that, I'm not sure. I'd love to see it again, but I don't see it. So I think actually we're more likely to get Ekitike March. If we're lucky, maybe more like April, and certainly back up to full speed, I would say April, possibly even May, which is essentially the entire season written off. So I think we need to do something this season, personally. What that looks like, I don't know. It might be this. It could well be this. And I more than anybody else, would be bang up for that. If one of them is ready to step up and do it, great. Could we do a loan type thing for it? Maybe. It doesn't feel very us, but it's not also not us because we've dipped into the loan market. But it's usually in like a crisis situation where we've gone Ozan Kabak, like Artemello, like let's do something rapid with no time left on the clock. It's not even July. We've got loads of time left on the clock. So I don't know. Let's wait and see. One thing I do know is we do need someone there because as we sit here right now, is Alexander Isak going to play 50 games for Liverpool next season? Maybe. Doubtful, let's be honest. It's more likely to be in the 40 sort of region, and they're not all going to be 90 minutes anyway. So he's going to need rotated. He's going to need taken out of games at times too. So, yeah, let's hope Liverpool feel the same way about the striker position as we do. I'm sure they do because they're much smarter than we are. But yeah, listen, I think it's a really exciting time. I think we are just getting towards the time where Liverpool suddenly start doing quite a lot of things because there's a lot of things that need doing. And they're going to want a lot of it done before pre-season and the trip to America. I'm certain of that. They're going to want these new lads on that tour with them if they can possibly help it. I know that would be difficult with the World Cup and some of them won't even be available, whatever they get done. But yeah, I do think we need at least one or two new bodies away on tour with us, to be honest. So that makes it exciting. And I think this is positive. The updates, the noise, everything about what we're trying to do and the people we're being linked with and the positions feels good. And that's nice. Anyway, we'll be back. Let me just make sure we did everything. I think we did everything. Felix Ametche, Keith Smith, Palestra and Yan Diomande. Look at me go. Wonderful. Thank you once again for joining me on this show. It is an absolute pleasure. I was a bit of a late substitution, truth be told, for this one, but it's always good to sit here and chat to you all. Do come back tomorrow and do get involved once again because it makes this show much easier with a chat room full of comments. So, until next time, take care. I'll see you soon.